Champion lining it up. Oh, torpedo mask!
In professional wrestling, Ilja Dragunov is the epitome of intensity. The Tsar of Pain, who is currently the WWE United States Champion, has built his legacy via ferocity, fire, and unwavering determination. Few can compare to the raw emotional weight that he carries in every move and blow he delivers. Dragunov creates a style that feels both timeless and terrifyingly real by combining the explosive athleticism of the modern era with the unforgiving spirit of traditional wrestling. However, he did not inherit his success. Rather, it was shaped by hardship, sacrifice, and a philosophy he would later adopt as his own. Unbesiegbar, the conviction that one is invincible. Ilja Dragunov's journey from the harsh European independent circuit, particularly his breakthrough in WXW Germany, to the international limelight of WWE, is one of relentless perseverance and a soul that refuses to yield. So now, we go back to where it all began, his origins, and the story behind the man who never stops fighting. Early life and wrestling origin. Ilja Dragunov, born Ilya Rukober, entered the world on October 10, 1993 in Moscow, Russia, at a time when the country was still scarred by political turmoil and uncertainty. When he was just 5, he and his mother left everything behind and moved to Dresden, Germany, searching for stability, but instead found struggles. Neither was fluent in the language. They weren't natives, and poverty followed them everywhere. Dragunov has recalled times when they yearned for luxuries they couldn't afford, like something as small as a Twix bar. He took on any work that would keep them afloat, including standing for extended periods of time at a gas station and washing dishes in a pizza place in order to support his mother. Those early years, marked by hardship and quiet survival, forged the foundation of his relentless spirit. Ilja was fighting every day to endure, move forward, and overcome before he ever stepped into a ring. Dragunov entered professional wrestling almost by chance. After being guided by a friend to a small wrestling gym in Dresden, he found a calling, a direction, and an outlet the moment he set foot on the mat. Wrestling turned from a sport to a home for a young immigrant struggling with harsh remarks, cultural alienation, and the stress of survival. He threw himself into training at the German Wrestling Federation, where he was molded by two titans of German wrestling, Axel Tischer, who would later be known to WWE fans as Alexander Wolf, and one of the original members of the Ringkampf legacy, and Rick Baxter, a seasoned 10-year veteran. Their influence ran deeper than technique. They shaped Dragunov's mindset in addition to teaching him how to move more deftly and hit harder. Here, he adopted the Unbesiegbar philosophy. His style, which was based on European strong style and characterized by forceful blows and unfiltered emotion, developed rapidly. In 2013, he made his independent wrestling debut, primarily with Westside Extreme Wrestling in Germany. He immediately became well known for his gritty, emotion-driven style, storytelling skills, and fierce intensity. Dragunov's in-ring persona, which is marked by unwavering resolve and fearless combat, was greatly influenced by this early time. His struggles as a child and his European wrestling roots helped shape him into the unyielding fighter he is today, paving the way for his eventual rise to international fame in the WWE. Rise through the European indie scene. Ilja Dragunov's rise through the European independent wrestling scene was a proving ground forged in grit, pain, and unshakable will. After Dragunov developed his skills in Germany, he got his big break in one of Europe's most prestigious promotions, Westside Extreme Wrestling, in 2013. Audiences first saw the raw, electric force he would become in WXW, which became his battlefield. From the moment he stepped into a WXW ring, Dragunov wrestled as if every match was a reckoning, with his past, his limits, his own body. He immediately struck a chord with his fans. He lived each second and ensured that the audience did too. The defining conflict of this phase of his journey was his rivalry with Walter, who is now known as Gunther throughout the world. Their battles were passionate epics based on cruelty, tenacity, and defiance. Dragunov defended the title against Walter multiple times during the height of his reign as WXW Unified World Wrestling Champion, with each match being more brutal and memorable than the last. With these triumphs, he established himself as the unchallenged king of WXW, a champion whose strength came from an unwavering resolve rather than from size or intimidation. In 2017, Dragunov's legend grew when he won the prestigious 16-karat gold tournament, defeating Walter in one of the promotion's most celebrated matches. His screams, strikes, collapses, and rises were all masterful examples of physical storytelling, conveying to audiences the meaning of Unbesiegbar. While Ilja Dragunov made his name in WXW, his tenure in Progress Wrestling broadened his storytelling horizons and helped him develop his identity. Arriving in 2019 as a feared outsider from Germany, he debuted against Pete Dunne, losing but immediately proving his intensity and emotional presence. With a well-deserved victory over Timothy Thatcher, Dragunov's momentum increased, and he displayed not only his usual ferocity, but also a newfound sense of control and precision. His run in the Super Strong Style 16 tournament further elevated him, and wins over Chris Brooks and Trevor Lee highlighted the raw power and urgency of his style, even though his journey ended in the semifinals. Dragunov also showed unexpected versatility. He showed his ability to entertain without sacrificing authenticity by portraying an exaggerated American patriot during a special cosplay event. This was a humorous contrast to his typically stoic, fiery persona. But his progress legacy was defined by his rivalry with Cara Noir. Their trilogy, which culminated in a 2 out of 3 falls match at Chapter 99, combined violence with eerie psychological storytelling. Dragunov represented obsession and introspection by dressing as Cara Noir himself when he entered that match. He left a lasting emotional impression even in defeat. The gritty, hard-hitting world of NXT UK was a perfect fit for Ilja Dragunov, who was already a phenomenon when WWE called. He was a symbol of fight and a warrior of emotion and endurance, and came with a legacy already burning. Rise in NXT UK, the rivalry that defined a generation. Ilja Dragunov entered NXT UK in 2019 with the fire of someone who had already made it through Europe's most difficult roads. After competing in WXW in Progress, he made his WWE debut with a rebellious presence. That victory over Jack Stars in his debut match was just the start. He went on to defeat Tyson T-Bone, Ashton Smith, and Joseph Connors, each match showing his intensity, his will to fight, and his emotional openness within the ring. Even when losing like in his memorable matchup with Cesaro at NXT UK TakeOver, Cardiff, Dragunov had managed to move the audience instead of disappointing them. His story in NXT UK was not one of clean heroism. It was about deciding who he was in the fire. When Imperium appeared, led by Walter, and including Dragunov's former mentor Alexander Wolf, they offered him a place beside them. For a moment, it looked as though he would join, but Ilja was never meant to serve another man's vision. He turned against Imperium, fought alongside Gallus, and then fought them as well when they rejected him for being too alone. Dragunov was a lone wolf not by choice, but by nature. His conflicts with Alexander Wolf marked a big change. Imperium's meddling caused their first fight to end in heartbreak, but Dragunov triumphed in the ruthless no disqualification match. He was still attacked by Imperium for not kneeling to them right after the match. The message was unambiguous. Ilja Dragunov preferred to bleed rather than bow. Then Walter arrived. The rivalry that ensued would change the face of contemporary wrestling. Their first title match for the NXT UK Championship in October 2020 was psychologically shattering. Despite lariats, power bombs, and a flurry of chops that echoed through the screen, Dragunov managed to push Walter farther than anyone else. It took Walter's final, unbearable choke to end him. He fell, though, not because he gave up, but because his body just stopped reacting. Ilja was broken. What followed was one of the most emotionally raw character arcs in modern wrestling. Dragunov wrestled through anger so powerful, it frightened even him. He unraveled during his matches with Dave Mastiff, Noam Dar, and Sam Gradwell. He lost control, injured people who tried to assist him, and faced the darkness that Walter had awakened. He needed to reclaim not just victory, but also himself. After that, TakeOver 36 in 2021 for the NXT UK Championship. The rematch. After 870 days of the longest title reign in WWE's modern history, Dragunov faced Walter once more in front of the world. They clashed like two natural forces. Dragunov did not break this time. He persevered and got up. Additionally, he made the ring general do the unimaginable, as Walter tapped out. Ilja Dragunov won the NXT UK Championship by rising above the pain instead of overpowering his opponent. There was more to this rivalry than just a winner. It embodied a generation of real, raw, and human wrestling. It showed that strength is not the only factor in wrestling. It has to do with the soul. He honorably defended the title against A-Kid, Wolfgang, Nathan Fraser, Roderick Strong, Rampage Brown, and Jordan Devlin, who was sent out of NXT UK entirely the second time based on the stipulation that the loser would have to leave the brand. Every match served as a reminder to not be afraid of pain. Sadly, after 346 days, an ankle injury forced him to give up the title, but he let it go with dignity. In Ilja Dragunov's story, there are no easy, perfect endings. It's never been about everything going right. It's about getting knocked down, standing back up, and fighting again. His journey has always been about perseverance, and it still is. Transition to NXT USA and rise to global recognition. Ilja Dragunov's time in NXT was defined by coming back, again and again. He refused to let the title he never really lost fade into memory when NXT UK closed its doors. He came back on September 20th, 2022, stepping right into the ring with J.D. McDonough and NXT champion Braun Breaker. He was there to take back what he once held. The chaos that followed led to a triple threat match at Halloween Havoc. Breaker retained the title that night, but Ilja wrestled like a man driven by something deeper. And even though he didn't win, the loss didn't break him. It sharpened him and made him even more dangerous. His conflict with J.D. McDonough developed into something much more than a simple rivalry. Dragunov's body gave way before his spirit did during their vicious encounter, and ultimately he passed out under JD's submission hold and was taken away on a stretcher. JD targeted his ribs, his will, and his mental state. Pain, however, has never been Dragunov's captor, but rather his teacher. A few months later, he came back like a new man, fueled by all of his scars. Even though he lost to Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams in the manic energy of the NXT North American Championship Fatal 5-Way at Stand and Deliver, his heart remained unshakable. Then came D-Jack. Their conflict was about survival, not sport. In a last man standing match at Battleground 2023 that tested the limits of human endurance, they tore through the arena. Even though Dragunov's chin was ripped open and he was bleeding, he rose. Ilja saw pain as proof of being alive, not suffering. His momentum only increased as he engaged in combat with Baron Corbin, renewed his feud with Breaker, and entered the NXT Championship race once more, this time against Carmelo Hayes. Trick Williams' meddling cost him victory at the Great American Bash, but Dragunov sharpened his fate instead of cursing it. Dragunov took what fate owed him at no mercy, in the purest of light, without interference and excuses. Carmelo Hayes' reign came to an end with a top-rope H-bomb, returning the throne to the man who never really lost it. His hard-won and unquestionable victory was marked by blood and bruises. Dragunov never slept as a champion. He fiercely defended, defeating Hayes, Baron Corbin, and Dominic Mysterio again. When Trick Williams stood across from him, their clashes were honest, visceral, and between men who saw pain as a language. At Vengeance Day 2024, Dragunov endured Trick's every blow, finally prevailing in a war that left both men changed. Even kings, however, have to pass the torch. When Trick Williams ran into him again at Spring Break in 2024, victory found a new home. Despite his injuries, Dragunov was proud to present Trick with the NXT Championship. There was respect, no reluctance, no bitterness. As greatness is not measured in gold by Ilja Dragunov, he measures it in endurance. Dragunov's NXT story has been a spiritual journey from his reappearance to his last embrace. With each stretcher, scream, and battle, he gained a better understanding of himself. He has fought against Trick's heart, Hayes' genius, D-Jack's violence, and McDonough's cruelty. He finds strength in every fall and finds meaning in each scar. The title that hangs around Ilja Dragunov's waist has never defined him. What he survives and what he becomes as a result defines him. Ilja Dragunov never breaks, as the world has repeatedly witnessed. The United States Champion era. The atmosphere around Ilja Dragunov crackled with a new kind of intensity from the time he was drafted to Raw in 2024. He wasn't made for glitz or pride. Emotion, rage, and the uncompromising demands of his own standards were what drove him. Ilja fought in silence, with a fire that burned too real for showmanship, while the rest of the main roster lived by slogans and bluster. His rise really picked up during the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. He powered past Ricochet with the same fierce drive everyone knows him for. Then, under the bright Raw lights, he stood face to face with Gunther again, the man he had last gone to war with at TakeOver 36. No words were needed, just the stare between them carried all their history, all the pain, all the respect. But the moment didn't last. Jey Uso caught him with a spear and finished him with a splash, knocking him out of the tournament. It was a tough loss, no doubt. Yet instead of breaking him, it only sparked something new in him. Over the summer, he got caught up in a fierce rivalry with Braun Breaker. Their matches were rough, heavy-hitting, the kind that left bruises and grudges. Along the way, he ended up fighting beside people like Ricochet and Sami Zayn. Ilja wasn't fighting for teams or alliances anyway. He was fighting for what he believed in. Losses came. Some were close, some were painful, like the times he just missed out on the Intercontinental Championship or fell short in crowded, chaotic multi-man matches. But every setback just pushed him harder. Every spear that knocked him down only made him more determined to stand back up. Slowly, his resilience became its own story, a reminder that you can break his body, but never his will. Then came the moment no one expected. He tore his ACL during a house show match with Gunther in September. To many, it looked like the end. A long road back, maybe too long. But over a year later, on the October 17th, 2025 episode of SmackDown, Ilja walked back into the spotlight. No fanfare, no theatrics. Just him with a new neck tattoo, no fear in his eyes, and that same unbreakable presence. He answered Sami Zayn's open challenge for the United States title. And in that match, he wrestled like someone who had fought his way through every dark moment. You could see the pain, but you could also see the fire. One torpedo Moscow and an H-bomb later, he stood as the new United States Champion. Dragunov's reign burns not as a victory lap, but as a vow to elevate the championship through open challenges, much like Zayn and Cena before him. His matches with Aleister Black and Nathan Fraser have already raised the bar and changed the tone of the title completely. But even as he keeps pushing forward, there's something in the background that never really goes away, Gunther. Their story didn't end. It just paused. And now, every match Ilja wins, every step he takes, feels like he's walking toward that final chapter, toward the one fight that decides everything. Marvelous verdict. Maybe it's the scream. Maybe it's the way he throws himself into every strike like it's the last one he'll ever throw. Or maybe it's just the feeling that when Ilja Dragunov steps into a ring, something real is about to happen. Since Ilja has never needed catchphrases, flashy slogans, or loud gimmicks to stand out, his story has always been told through his body, through impact, exhaustion, and pure will. From the gritty European halls to the grand stage of WWE, Ilja's journey mirrors his style that is raw, emotional, and deeply human. Now, as United States Champion, the Mad Dragon carries that same raw fire into every open challenge, fighting not for fame, but for meaning. He is the living embodiment of endurance, a reminder that pain, when embraced, can become purpose. So here's the question. Which Dragunov match was the moment you realized he was different? Tell us your thoughts in the comment. Like this video if Dragunov's story inspired you. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more marvelous wrestling deep dives.